Hey everyone, how are you doing? This is the weekly vlog series. Sorry it's a bit too late. One of our kittens uh, feels a lot better now than what it was. There's like a cat cold going around the house. A couple of our cats got it. Then again, the kitten gets it. Then it gets really dangerous from there. So keeping an eye on it, keeping enough fluids, and anything goes wrong, we go to the pet ER and get Coco checked in and get medication for it. But right now it's eating, drinking. His temperature is down. Just gotta keep an eye on the kittens. When you subscribe, like, and share. Also, let me know what you guys think about Baldur's Gate 3. I already beat it last Sunday. All the video is up on the secondary channel down a link below as well. We are working on old miniatures and old prints that I printed like a couple years ago, and also miniatures that made in the 70s and 80s. There are a lot of problems with these old ones compared to the newer ones. Newer ones are more detailed because the technology advanced with the molds and stuff like that. The older ones are just um, they're probably molded for they've cast it for so much, and it's just they're not really good with curvatures and other things with old pewter pieces for that as well. We'll be looking at some of the old ones. Uh, I think that's probably one of the things that we should like kind of talk about as well. If I can work fucking OPS, but it's one of those things. Yeah, make it a little smaller so you guys can see. So these are the ones that I'm painting next for it. Like a lot of these old ones have kind of a base. The recent one for the past 10, 15 years are the plastic round black ones, flat. But I actually 3D printed. When you have a 3D printer, it works a hell of a lot better when you could do different textural wise for it. So these are dwarfs back then. These what dwarves really look like. They were not 28 scale. I think they were like 18 to 20 millimeter scale for these things. So these are dwarves, but in this day and age and how dwarves look on miniatures, you can try to pass these out as gnome or halfling. But a lot of the stuff. There's a lot of pitting. When they're old, they start to pit, and a couple of the pewter pieces do rust because there's a mixture of alloys with it. So a lot of times, I use acetone to clean it out, and use a very soft brush. Do not use hard brush, and you will ruin the old details that were on these as well. I have a whole bunch of these dwarves ones, but we're gonna probably pass it out as gnome or halfling for it. This is another old one. Um, like back then, the face for these pewter pieces were very horrific, and this one's kind of horrific too. And the hair, this is probably chainmail all around his head. The hairs are not that great on these as well, but this is supposed to be human, and this is the dwarf size for it nowadays. This is an elf, and this is I think this is like a newer one back in 84. This is like 76, 78, 79. This is like the mid 80s right here. And how different they changed now with the elves is taller than the human, and there's more beefier, more bigger, a little bit more details on it for this. So this is an elf. I have a metal casting for this. This is from Reaper Miniatures. Peter Piece of Days, this is a plastic one of it. So if this is like the late 90s, early 2000 model right here. So if I put next to it how the miniatures got bigger over the years and everything for it, if I compare this to the elf, this is actually an elf, not a human. It's a lot bigger and it's more details throughout the years as well. And this is the newer version of the human by Reaper. So this is the metal pewter piece as well. This is probably the early 2000 or mid 2000. Um, I'm going to have to cut it and put green stuff in between to fix this because not all of them will, look, nice looking. And a lot of times you will have to fix it. So this is one whole piece. This is in two, three pieces to get this thing working. But this is the human compared to the old school human. How the size difference is and the detail of it is as well. Then we compare it to a 3D print. I think this is a Dragon Knight compared to the modern one. The 3D print nowadays is 28 millimeter scales now. This kind of hunched over, but if you go to an elf, it's kind of similar. This is probably 25, 26 millimeter scale. This is 28 for it. But 3D prints are a lot more details now. Even this is like the free cheap ones are more detailed than the sculpts were back then. These are the cultists that we got to paint as well. So this is one of those things that you get to experience getting older when you start collecting these. And we have one of the Nurgle's army right here. It's kind of got a little fluff and shit I gotta clean out before I paint these suckers. But yeah, big difference on a lot of these things. So I do a lot more 3D prints. I don't really buy pewter piece unless it's something that I really do enjoy, really do like for it. Some people do like the AD&D style. There's a 3.5 when 3.0 and 3.5 came out. There wasn't really much miniatures except for WizKid had a whole bunch of booster stuff for it for plastic miniatures. So yeah, so they have WizKid had a lot of those packs I used to buy. And they were better quality then than now, especially the paint jobs on them, like the Dragon Queen, and they got the Aspect Human that actually worth money as well. They did sell pewter pieces. They got chainmail that's gone now, and a lot of these other pewter pieces they just disappeared, and you have other company like Reaper took over, and some other ones as well that I can't keep I can't think about. But so pewter pieces are kind of dying now, and now they have a new format because back then pewter had lead in it, and now they removed the lead because lead is kind of illegal to put into a lot of products now because it is poisonous for it as well. And you can get pewter pieces, but it'll be lead free. And back then, a lot of the pieces were brittle than compared to a lot of pewter pieces that are not have lead in it. So that's one good thing. But I do have an actual solid lead figure that's probably illegal to have or to like to sell, but I think it's safe to keep. I make sure because a lot of those old style back then, like 70s, 80s, you actually had lead-based paint, and they had lead-based paint that I had to literally put a hazardous sticker and take it to the proper landfill to dump these at, and there's a hazardous material for it. So now they have all acrylic, and I make sure I actually dunk it into an actual a primer acrylic base so that it can actually will not leak any kind of chip of lead or anything for it. And I put it up on the mantle so no one's going to play it because I have plenty other dragons uh, that's not made out of lead. But yeah, I do have those, but people do still sell some because they don't know which one's lead or not. I think like the early 70s, they were all lead based. And then it became pewter based because they started to realize that, chip lead paint, kids were eating them and they're poisonous and stuff like that. So that's like the big spew for those as well. But the evolution of miniature and how far they have gone, it's like night and day right now. So good one to buy is Reapers if you want plastic or pewter for it. But if you have a 3D printer, could save a hell of a lot more money getting the Patreon. That's why I do the Patreon videos twice a week. So you guys have an idea what you need to print or buy, make proxy and stuff for you and your friends. Like for me, I would like to buy GW miniatures, the new plastic push pin, but they're just too damn expensive. It is cheaper just buy like a small 3D printer, like $100, and buy a bottle of resin. You got about 500-600 points or about 1,000 point army, just printing it within 2 weeks. So but also you got to place the 3D printer somewhere that is well ventilated because you want to breathe in the fumes because you will get sick from it for that as well because there's also hazardous fumes in that point. Well, anyhow, let me know what you guys think about the older and the newer ones, the 3D prints, and the comparison for it. Well, anyhow, subscribe, like, and share if you do enjoy the video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day, guys. Bye.